'Tis the season for Christmas music videos and testing the limits of my computer. Um, Hello everyone. Today I'm going to go over a Christmas jazz classic, Christmas Time Is Here, composed by Vince Guaraldi, one of the greatest composers of jazz music and also a great pianist who wrote all the music for Charlie Brown Christmas. So I'm sure you recognize this tune. Right? So it just kind of just warms your heart when you hear this tune. The jazz musicians love to play it. It has just a wonderful melody, changes. So what I'd like to do is talk about the chords and how to play it in a melody chord style. And if you are a novice, just getting into jazz especially, this is actually pretty doable. And I'm teaching this to quite a few students this year, and it goes over one of the major components of jazz training, which are called upper triad structures or just upper chord structures. What's amazing about this tune from a teaching perspective and learning perspective is you can fit the melody on top of those chords very easily. So what I'd like to do first is just go through the chords and break them down a little bit. And we're just going to take it one chord at a time here. So we have an F major 7. Here's our F major chord. And then we have our major 7th interval. And you can also think of this as an A minor over F. Okay? Our next chord, E flat 9 sharp 11. Now, don't let that throw you off too much. You can break it down into 3 components. The E flat stands for E flat major. The 9, when you see the number, it's meaning it's a dominant quality. So there's going to be a 7 in this chord. So the 7 is what is the minor 7th interval, or it's just a whole step below the root. And then the 9 is just extending the chord to the, you can also think of it as the second note, or just add 7, you have 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And then the 11, the original 11 from the key is an A flat. We're going to sharp that. And then we're going to go ahead and add a C to the chord. We're going to extend it. So what you see here, we have an E flat 7, the bottom 4 notes, F, A, C, creates an F over E flat 7. You can see that in your screen, hopefully, in the chord tool. And that's going to be very helpful moving forward. So when you see a sharp 11 dominant chord, if whatever the root is, go up a whole step and then build that chord in the right hand. And that's one of the many shortcuts that you can use. So we're going to think of this as an F over E flat 7. All right, so moving forward, we have the same changes. F major 7, you can think of that as an A minor over F. And the E flat 9 sharp 11 again, F over E flat 7. Then we have a B flat minor 7 flat 5. Let's break that down. Here's your B minor chord. Yikes, it should have B, D, F sharp. Let's see if I can get it changing up here. Nope. Okay, and then the 7 is just a minor 7. And then we're going to take the 5 and lower it. There's your B flat minor 7 flat 5. Okay, there's a lot of different ways to get there. So what we really want to do is look at the top 3 notes of the chord. We have a D minor on top and a B on bottom. There it is. Okay, so think of your B minor 7 flat 5 as a D minor over B, a minor chord on the flat 3 of whatever the chord name is. All right, B flat minor 7. We're going to build a B flat minor triad. Oops, there we go. And you really need to know all your major and minor triads before you do any kind of 7th work. So hopefully you have some of that information. If not, I have some other videos that cover that. So we have B flat minor triad. Then we're going to add the 7. The 7 stands for the minor 7th interval. Okay, that holds true on any of these chords. You can also think of it as going from the root an octave up and just going down a whole step. And the top 3 notes form a D flat major chord over B flat. Okay, so if you're watching this, you really wanted to learn this tune and the chords, I would take some notes. A minor 7. We have our A minor triad, and then we have the 7, which stands for the minor 7th interval, right? And really quickly, what I'd like to do, I can do this really quickly. Okay, let's take this chord, and I want to show you really how you should think about it, how you should, let's go back to this B minor 7 flat 5. And I do have a few other videos on my page that go in more detail about breaking down a chord. The first thing we're going to do is get the triad. So the B minus sign, or if you see a B little m, that actually, there is your triad. Okay. Then the 7 right there, and sometimes you'll see a 9 or sometimes a 13. It's the extension. Okay, so that is your, just put ext for extension. You're going up beyond the triad however far. If it's a 9, a 13, it's going to include the 7. Okay, that's a key factor there. So that's the second component. And then the third component, this little guy right there, the flat 5, sharp 11, whatever it is, that is an alteration. Sometimes the alteration occurs within the triad, sometimes it occurs within the extensions. So just break it down into triad, extension, alteration, and that's really the best way to do that. And you can, I actually have my students block it out just like this. It'll look a little bit better than when I have it here, hopefully. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so we were on the A minor 7 chord. So A minor triad, the 7 stands for minor 7th interval. Put the 2 together. All right, and we can also think of this as a C major over A. A flat minor 7. This is just, we just go down chromatically. A flat minor triad. Here's your minor 7. Put it together. You can think of it as a B major over A flat. And it's going to go down another half step. We have chromaticism within the harmony here. G minor 7, G minor triad, the 7, which is the minor 7th interval, put it together. Think of it as a B flat major over G. And this one actually is written out for us. Sometimes you'll see that, especially in the jazz or the real books. B flat over C. You can also fill it in too. You can add the 5th interval in there. And it really functions as a, what you see on the screen there, as a C9 sus. So that's interesting that they, these arrangers decide to do that. And then we're back to the F major 9 this time. Now, just a quick tip, 7ths, 9s, 13s, they are all interchangeable. It just depends on what kind of sound you want at the time, okay? And so if we want to build this out, here's our F major, here's our major 7, and then here's our major 9. Now, when you see M-A-J, then that is the other 7th interval. That's the true major 7th, that's the true 7th of the major key. Or you can think of it as just a half step below the tonic. So what's important here is to have shortcuts, but also know the theory, know kind of have different approaches, and then figure out what works best for you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to look at this melody. Simple enough, right? So instead of like working with the left hand and then putting the right hand on top, what I'm going to do is just we're going to go straight into both hands. Now, the E on top, if you build down, check that out. If you build down in thirds, we have an A minor. Remember the A minor over F? So now you can actually fill out the left hand a little bit. You don't want to block the left hand. You never want to do that. You want to leave something, you want to leave it open. So you can do it like an F, A, and E, the 1, 3, and 7. Or you could just do the shell. But if you can fill it out, go ahead and add a 3 or the 5. I usually recommend the 3 instead of the 5 because the 3 has the quality of the chord. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to block that chord, play it on the downbeat, and then I'm just going to play the melody for the rest of the measure. And I'm using my pedal. I know you can't see the highlighted notes like being played again because I'm using my pedal to hold the notes down. It is a ballad. You can roll it. You can also improvise or ad-lib with the left hand as you're doing that. And if you know how to do more with your left hand, expand it. You can do that as well. You're not limited to just blocking in this area. But for starters, that's how you want to think about it. Okay, so let's go to the next chord. We land on an A. The E flat 9 sharp 11. What was that? It was the F major over the E flat 7. Okay? So, A is the top note. Build an F major down. Hopefully you know your chord inversions well enough. You can do that. It's pretty simple on the F chord. And check this out. E flat, G, D flat. I'm just play just the 1, 3, and the 7. And then build the F chord. We have a nice little dissonance there. This little half step, okay, it creates a nice little dissonance in the middle, and then nice evenly distributed voices around that. Or once you have that down, what happens is now you have you have some flexibility to actually experiment with arpeggios and ad-libbing. You know, once you've just narrowed it down to what the upper structure chords are. So let's go back, kind of look at that entire phrase. Oops, there we go. I'm going to block it first, and then I'm going to spread out a little bit. Now we're just vamping just on those two chords because it's very important to do that. Don't move forward, really kind of focus on that area. And then one more thing before we move forward and look at some of the other chords. All right, look at the shape here. We have the F major, but we can add the C sharp or the D flat into the mix. And then check this out. We can just take that same shape and arpeggiate it. One of the oldest tricks in the book as being a keyboardist is just repeating the same idea, just flowing it up. Oops. Now, there are many different patterns you can use. you just have to sit there and kind of work on what pattern it is you want to do. And then there is actually more to it than that. So let's continue on. We are at the this is a perfect example of the melody fitting underneath the chords. B minor 7 flat 5. Okay, here is our B minor flat 7. Remember D minor over B. And we have the A on top. Check that out. D minor chord over B in the left hand, and then we'll fill out the left hand. B flat minor 7. The A minor 7 was C over A, right? The G is the top note and the C major chord fits perfectly in there. Let me move this up a little bit and over. Oops. A flat minor 7. And you can fill in the right hand there as well. And there we go. G minor 7. B flat over G. So the melody is inside the B flat major chord. And then the F is on top of the B flat major chord. And then the G just happens to be the 9 on top of the F major 9 chord. All right, let's move on to the B section. And I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit quicker because wanted to dig in more in the concepts in the first part. So we have a D flat major 7. D flat major, here's the major 7. And then we think F minor over C, and look, the C is already on top. So the C is on top of the chord. Okay, then we get to a G flat 9 sharp 11, and we're going to think of this just like we thought the chord from the A section. Now, oops, there he is. The only problem here is, we can think of this as an E augmented over G flat, but if you don't know your triads well enough to think about it like that, if you want to group it into major and minor, extend it all the way up to the 13. Remember, you can use 13ths as substitutions for 11ths, or sorry, for 9ths and 7ths. So now we actually have an A flat major chord. So think of this as an A flat over G flat. Okay, and when you do that, then we're going to build the A flat major down, and then we have a nice little cluster there. Or we can open up the sound. That is a better way to play that. Look at how those intervals are spaced. 7th, we got the tritone, we get the 4th, we get the 4th, and we have a 3rd interval. And then it does the same thing again. All right. Once again, we have wonderful shapes here to work with underneath the melody. So C minor 7 is really just a C over A, right? C over A. Okay, so we have the C, build the C chord, and then we have our A, and then let's build our left hand shape. Okay, E flat 9. Now, you can just do this chord by itself as a moving chord. Most of the time, in this case, that'd probably be best. You can do right stuff with it, but for now, let's just use it as a passing chord. Okay, the D9. A, think of it as A minor over D. And then we have a D7 flat 9. Locate your 9, lower it a half step, and then B or G minor 7. We saw this earlier. This is a B flat over G, and the B flat's on top. So there's your G minor 7 built underneath the melody. Then we have a D flat 9. D flat major, here's your 7, here's your 9, okay? So let's extend it out, or we can think of it actually as an A flat minor. Oops, sorry about that. And then we have the C13. 13, 9, 7, that's all dominant quality. So 1, 3, 5, here's your 7, here's your 9, here's your 13. And check this out. One of little tips I give my students is drop the 3 in the left hand and add it into the right hand. Oops. It's a really, really nice voicing. Simply just drop the 3, put it in the right hand, and you'll have a nice little cluster in the middle. Now I'm just going to play through the rest of the tune, kind of blocking it out. And it's just the same as before here. There we go. All right, well, I hope you have fun with that. This tune is a great study. It really is. I mean, you could take, really a month to just focus on it. And you would come away with so much knowledge, especially with the upper structure chords and chromaticism. It's a great tune. I consider it a jazz classic through and throughout, not just for holidays. So, Merry Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you next time.